this edition of Pro Wrestling Weekly, you will get a look at the man who calls himself King of Wrestling. We will update you on regional and national action and flashback for some events of the 1970s, including a fan club convention and a weightlifting record attempt. Plus our feature, Pro Wrestling Weekly Goes to the Movies. Welcome, I'm your host, Les Thatcher. We'll be back with all these main events and more right after this. Jerry Lawler, the man who calls himself the King of Wrestling, did not just become an overnight wrestling star. Lawler has been winning regional titles for some 8 years. However, he did leap into the national spotlight when 2 years ago on the Late Night with David Letterman show, Jerry slapped comedian, amateur wrestler Andy Kaufman. I first met Jerry Lawler during one of my own wrestling commitments of the late 60s in his hometown of Memphis, Tennessee. At that time, Lawler, a college student, was drawing wrestling cartoons for the manager's office of the City Auditorium. Let's take a look at a brief biography of the King as Bob Polk reports.
From an age when most children were dreaming of becoming baseball players or cowboys, Jerry Lawler dreamed of becoming a professional wrestler. Here we see the evolution in photographs of Jerry the King Lawler from a rookie into a champion wrestler. He went from small-time DJ to a top regional champion to the leading contender for the World Heavyweight Championship. The only belt to elude the King has been the coveted World Heavyweight title. Here we see him in action against 3 former title holders. As you can see, Lawler's style of wrestling is wide open, no-holds-barred attack on any opponent he faces. He maintains a level of intensity that has brought him to the top of his profession. Recently, his name has become a household word as he appeared on numerous late-night talk shows. He also finds time to hobnob with prominent entertainers in the music and motion picture fields. Obviously, wrestling has made him a wealthy man, and today, when not traveling and wrestling, he lives in fashionable Hendersonville, Tennessee, with such neighbors as Johnny Cash and Barbara Mandrell, where he truly lives like a king.
Our lead story on this week's Pro Mat News comes from Greensboro, North Carolina, where Nature Boy Ric Flair regained the National Wrestling Alliance Heavyweight Championship for the second time as he edged 7-time NWA Kingpin Harley Race in front of a sellout house of 18,000 excited fans. Flair will begin a nationwide tour to defend the belt after a week's vacation. Word comes to us from Tampa, Florida, that the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, has been signed for a feature part in the upcoming Willie Nelson film, Red-Headed Stranger. Pro Wrestling Weekly will cover this event as soon as production begins in Texas. This week marks the beginning of another great wrestling season for promoter Owls Inc. in Eastern Canada. The 6-month season, under the banner of International Championship Wrestling, opened its doors to sellout houses in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and Moncton, New Brunswick, Canada. Zinc's featured grappler is the widely known Mark Lewin. Bob Armstrong underwent extensive surgery in Huntington, West Virginia last week after a chair-wielding battle with Ted DiBiase. Plastic surgery was performed on Armstrong's face. At this time, he is recovering at his home in Pensacola, Florida, and our reporters will cover this story as soon as Armstrong is able to receive visitors. For our flashback segments this week, we spotlight Knoxville, Tennessee. as we go to the 11th annual WFIA convention and also watch the Boston Irishman, Kevin Sullivan, go for a weightlifting record in the squat. The 17th annual Wrestling Fans International Convention will be held this year, August 17th through 20th in Memphis, Tennessee. We would like to take you back to the awards dinner of the 1978 convention as our reporter, Tony Lupino, tells you about the winners.
Recently, Knoxville, Tennessee hosted the 11th annual convention of the Wrestling Fans International Association. Fans from as far away as Canada, New Mexico, and California attended the three-day convention, with fan club displays, meetings, wrestling movies, and wrestling matches. Fans bought, sold, and swapped wrestling memorabilia, and the convention was highlighted by the prestigious awards banquet. Highlights of the evening included Ron Sexton's award for Referee of the Year. The Lady Wrestler of the Year was the dynamic Joyce Grable. Even the usually outrageous Ron Wright was polite and humble when he accepted his award for Manager of the Year, along with the Tag Team of the Year, Dennis Condrey and Phil Hickerson.
It's really an honor to accept an award like this from such a great organization, and we all three want to say thanks.
The one-man gang, Ronnie Garvin, also was gracious as he accepted his Wrestler of the Year award from former award winner Tommy Siegler.
And I want to say right now that this could not be presented to a more capable or more deserving guy. Ronnie Garvin.
You know, this award means a lot to me. It means just as much as winning a title anywhere in this country. And I think wrestling is the greatest sport in the world. And I love my sports, and I love all the fans. Thank you very much.
Ring Wrestling Magazine capped off the awards presentation by presenting the Tennessee stud Ron Fuller with the Ring Wrestling Man of the Year award. WFIA is an organization of dedicated wrestling fans which bridges the gap between promoters, fans, and wrestlers. It is unique in that it is the only group of its kind which brings wrestlers and fans together outside of the arena.
As you can see, the fan club conventions are enjoyable to attend. If you are interested in this year's event, you may contact Executive Director Pete Lederberg in Miami, Florida. Kevin Sullivan, at the age of 10, was bedridden for 1 year with rheumatic fever. Doctors said the young Bostonian might never walk again, and if he did, he would never be active in sports. 1 year later, Sullivan began beating the odds when he started swimming competitively. From there, he went into wrestling, bodybuilding, and weightlifting. Let's go to Doc's gym and watch as Kevin shoots for 25 repetitions with 415 pounds at a body weight of 200 pounds.
We're in Doc's gym in Knoxville, Tennessee, to watch Kevin Sullivan set the world squat record that we've talked about a couple weeks on the program. Of course, with me and on my right, Kevin Sullivan. You're going to give this a shot, aren't you, son?
You know, Leslie, thank you. You know, as you said, multifaceted man, bodybuilding, wrestling, and now breaking world's records. You know, Les, I can dip more snuff than them. I can outlift them. I got a better body than them, and I even make the girls get Les Thatcher once in a while, Leslie, and that's hard to do.
You know, seriously, Kevin, most wrestlers use weightlifting as a means to an end for the actual wrestling. But in the last year and a half, you've gotten into the bodybuilding, and now it's into the lifting itself for the power and for this record.
Yeah, Les, like I said, a multifaceted man. There isn't a man in wrestling, and that includes any other wrestler that can do what I do. First bodybuilding contest I ever was in, I won. First time I ever tried to set a world's record, I set it. Les, this today is what makes an athlete. You either train or you don't. And I've put, as everybody knows, everything into this, and I've got a lot of results from it.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit after this, so let's get on with the event. This is what we came to see, a world's record. You're going to try and do 25 reps with 400.
The only thing is I should charge everybody watch this.
All right, we're going to step off camera here.
Many people may not agree with the brash statements made by Kevin Sullivan, but they must agree that the big Irishman can back up his words by reaching the goals he sets for himself. Sullivan decided to enter the field of competitive bodybuilding, he promptly won or placed in every contest he entered. The same drive for success has also served him well in the squared circle, where he has won titles in both the junior heavyweight and heavyweight divisions. Let's rejoin Kevin in the gym as we watch him grind out the final gut-wrenching repetitions of his record attempt.
25. He's going to try for 26, and he's got it. Beautiful, beautiful. Way to go, my man. Way to go. Steve, step on in here. Kevin, a great job. You
Thank you,
did a
Les.
heck of a job.
You know, we're a hell of a team, Les. Best commentator in the business, best wrestler.
It's certainly the world's record in squats.
That's right.
Again, congratulations. How about it? Do you think there's anybody else in professional wrestling that can match you?
I'm going to make this real simple. All the other guys up there that think they can train, I can beat you in anything. Wrestling, bodybuilding, weightlifting, dip snuffing, dancing, you name it. I am right here, the number one today.
Kevin, thanks a lot.
Kevin is currently wrestling in Florida, where he and Dusty Rhodes are dueling for the state title. We'll be back with our feature, Pro Wrestling Weekly Goes to the Movies, right after this. The involvement of professional wrestlers in films goes back to the 1940s, when Tiger Joe Marsh and Iron Mike Mazurki began doing bit parts. The most recent wrestler involvement was 1983's Rocky III, when Hulk Hogan stole the show as the wrestler Thunderlips. However, that was not Sylvester Stallone's first encounter with professional wrestling. In 1978, Stallone made a feature film called Paradise Alley, which was about the pro mat sport during the 1940s. Sly cast some 20 grapplers in the production, and one of the feature roles went to then World Heavyweight Champion Terry Funk. Let's go behind the scenes of the making of Paradise Alley.
We're in the Universal Studios set of the motion picture Paradise Alley, starring Sylvester Stallone. He has created for the cameras a colorful 1940s fight club called Paradise Alley, an authentic recreation with hundreds of costumed extras and a leaky roof. Paradise Alley is the story of three brothers down on their luck in New York City who try to make their fortune by turning the youngest brother into a professional wrestler, Kid Sullivan. The film's climax is a spectacular, no-holds-barred battle for which the wrestlers have been rehearsing for several months.
Shake him, Riley. Yeah, Riley fan. There you go. Ah!
The man in the priest at the weight straight, his name is Terry Funk. He's a former heavyweight world champion wrestler, like his brother and like his father before him. He comes from Amarillo, Texas. He is coming for the picture. He plays Frank the Stumper. Aside from his acting role, he's also taken on the incredible chore of teaching Lee Canalito, who has never wrestled in his life, to become a professional wrestler.
For the film Rocky, Sylvester Stallone, an actor, played the role of a boxer. For this film, a boxer is being trained to be an actor. He's Lee Canalito, a professional handled by Muhammad Ali's manager, Angelo Dundee.
Angelo Dundee called me and he asked me if I had any experience acting, and I told him no, I didn't. And he said that I was being in a movie. And I said, come on, Angelo, you got to be kidding. I said, who's our next opponent? And so he said, no, he was serious. And so Sylvester Stallone called me the next day, and he asked me how did I feel about being in a movie. And I was very shocked when he called. And so I come out here, he gave me a screen test. Then after that, we're in the movies.
I saw him on television. I said, there's a slight resemblance, and he could play my giant brother. Up until that point, I was panicking because I thought I was going to have to play this role. And you can see, that's oil and water out there.
The film is based on reality. In 1946, 47, 48, they used to have club wrestling. And now a wrestler can wrestle in Los Angeles to New York because of the availability of transportation. But back then, it was just as far as a person could go or travel or the area that he was in. My father died while wrestling, and I respect my sport very, very much. And I'm an individual and I'm an athlete, and nobody tells me what to do whenever I'm going to step into a wrestling ring. And it's a very tough type of life. You see movies where they knock it and knock it. Well, this one isn't going to knock it.
This is the Paradise Alley Fight Club, where the biggest matches in the neighborhood take place. The year is 1946. The weather is obviously lousy. And the biggest fight that takes place is the one that's going to take place between Victor Kid Salami Carboni and Frankie the Thumper.
After his Oscar-winning success with the boxing scenes in Rocky, Stallone is determined to make the climax of Paradise Alley the most exciting wrestling fight ever filmed.
One person knows the outcome of this brawl, and I ain't telling.
We have again come to the end of our program. I hope you've enjoyed being with us. On next week's Pro Wrestling Weekly, we will feature NWA World Heavyweight title holder Ric Flair, a visit to the ranch of retired World Junior Heavyweight champ Nelson Royal, and also watch Dusty Rhodes on stage in a Texas concert with his pal Willie Nelson. Till then, this is Les Thatcher saying so long.